Well, I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot and cut through the night, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, he ain't nothing, just good old boy. Threw my boss out the window and got fired for my last job. Hot-wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Paid my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever change. Ain't no harm by the things we do, or the trouble that we get into. Other than a while, every once in a while, we can't help it.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. I'm Ash. He's Brent. I'm the Wade. He's the Carter. If you're tuning in on Magic, thank you. Facebook,
operating
YouTube's.
a program as orchestrated as a 14-point Air Force airstrike on Iran. That's the kind of program we're running right here. The precision, the refueling. We'll get to that in a minute.
I've got my refueling right
What
here.
it takes to change the world, the United States. The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deer and Feed. I went down Saturday. I took Dawn with me on Saturday.
Did you?
Her request, and we saw Jackie Parsons, and I got some stuff, some snacks for the chickens. I've noticed a little drop off in egg production, partly due to the fact that it's hot. I need to get them like a trough that they can. Did you ever have your chickens like, did they like to keep their feet cool? They stand in water?
I never noticed it. No,
They need like a little spa.
I had a dust bath for them.
They need, yeah, a diatomaceous earth.
Yes.
They need a spa experience. We're going to do that. But for the moment, 77 degrees in Victoria under sunny skies, heading to a high today of 92. No chance of rain until a very slight chance on Thursday, which is the night of Palace Bingo. So Deer and Feed, helping people. They were busy on a Saturday.
I don't doubt it.
People down there loading up stuff. July 4th coming up. You do want to put down the 21-7-14 blend. It's a year-long regimen.
This 4 times a year, maybe 5.
This is my last application this year, I think. And I would, I guess until Labor Day, like that's when when the flags are flying, that's when you need to be slinging 21-7-14.
Slinging poop?
Yeah, but they've got it. So get by there. Don't be a monkey slinging poop. Top news of the week. You know what? Last week we talked about LA riots. It's nothing compared to Iranian mayhem.
Yeah. And
The
Friday, we
president-
were just talking about how Iran was given 2 weeks to get their act together, or something was going to happen. Well, that warning lasted all of about
in the next 2 weeks,
36 hours.
So here's my, I'll lay it out for those of you that may be concerned about Iran. It is worth noting that if it's purely uranium enrichment to work on your nuclear energy program, why is it 300 foot deep under a mountain in the middle of nowhere?
To protect Iranians from the nuclear fallout.
Sure it is. But if we just look at things objectively and we say that forever, forget Israel, but forever, Israel's little sin, United States' big sin, convert or die. This current Iranian regime is the impetus of, global terrorism in so many ways. And these folks, everybody agrees, everybody civilized agrees, cannot have nuclear weapons because everybody agrees, even the most leftist of you agrees that there's a pretty good chance that if anybody would actually deploy such a weapon and attack Israel and ultimately attack the U.S., it would be Iran. Everybody agrees, right? We all agree.
80% of the country in a CNN poll last week said that
They can't have the
have
bomb.
a nuclear weapon.
Now, by a vote of 48 to 47%, Americans polled agreed that it was even okay for the U.S. to have some type of intervention. It was too
Pretty
much
divided
of
over
a
that.
cop-out, though, to say you can't do it, but we shouldn't be the ones to police it. Who else is going to do it if not the United States? So,
Yeah.
flash forward. You'll remember that Donald Trump, he's not messing around, people. You've seen it with Doge. You've seen it with his cabinet. You've seen it with him calling out his cabinet. If Tulsi Gabbard said that, she's incorrect. He didn't say he was going to fire her. He didn't call her a combatant or a traitor. He just said she's wrong. She's wrong. So the U.S. employing intelligence that we don't have access to here at the program, which means you don't have access to it, determined that Iran was really close to the 90%
enrichment.
necessary to produce a nuclear weapon.
The world had all agreed they're at least at 60%, which is what you
Right.
need for, from what I understand, for power generation.
So, and they're not building any power plants.
No.
So there they are. The desert is boiling. And Trump says, you got 60 days to talk to me. That's a long time in a 4-year term. I give you 60 days to come to the table. What did they say to him? Yeah, they said nuts. So then on the 61st day, we reported it here. On the 61st day, an orchestrated minimal casualty to the Jews Israeli attack on Iran reveals the fact that Iran's basically helpless. What did they do? They
Send
didn't
some
do
missiles
much.
back.
The Jews went over and eliminated their Air Force and boasted, we control the skies over Tehran. Think about that. The little sin went over and dropped the hammer on Iran. So Trump said, there's still a chance for peace. He said it. I heard him say it. Come to the table now. And Iran said, we will not negotiate with the West, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
Trump said, I'll decide in the next 14 days what I'm going to do. All of a sudden, the left is all bunched up. He can't declare war without us. He didn't declare war. He opened up a 30,000 pound bomb can of whoop ass. That's what he did. Over 500 people in an orchestrated event with B-2 bombers and strategic refuelings. Did you know, we heard this morning, 18 hours over there, 18 hours back,
3 to 4 refuelings each way.
45 minutes on the Talon to get the fuel. Well, yeah, it was not
the
not
carbon-
a Tesla deal.
Yeah. The environmentalists are really mad at
The
carbon
carbon
footprint from this
footprint
thing.
of a B-2 bomber is excessive. But what they did, I heard an Air Force guy say this morning that the 14 ordnance dropped, each landed within inches of its intended target.
Wow, what else are they going to tell you?
Well, they would tell you, I think, you missed the target. Well, we sent you a message.
Well, I think if they missed the target or were off target by enough, Iran would be claiming massive casualties, and UN groups would be really mad at the US for killing innocent civilians, and we haven't heard of any of that. So that's how you know they hit their target.
There may have been significant Iranian civilian deaths, but the regime doesn't care. That's something else worth noting. They don't care.
No.
So at the end of the day, I saw a video yesterday which did not include footage of the bombing, but it showed a still photo from a satellite plane and said that it appears that this 30,000-pound bomb was targeted at and entered this deeply underground facility through a ventilation shaft. I mean, we're talking pinpoint precision. And to me, that's only the beginning.
You know what's interesting with this is originally, this facility was 90 feet underground, 100 feet
then
underground.
it was 300.
Now it's 300 feet underground.
And it's still gone.
Yeah.
Now, here's something else worth noting. Just this morning, you said it's the last living son of the Shah of Iran.
I don't know if he's the last living. I think he's the eldest. But I could be wrong. Youngest? I don't know. I don't remember.
Anyway,
he's the crown prince.
He's a relative. He's a cousin, a relative of the Shah of Iran, which has no real mystique for me, except that it's before. If you go back to the 60s when all this,
he's the eldest son of the former Shah. He's 64 years old.
When all this happened, so he was a baby when all this happened.
I think he was 20 when the regime changed.
Much like South Africa, the natives got restless and took over the country. And they came in, make a note of your leftist friends. They came in under the idea of everybody deserves equality. The elites, the oligarchs are ruining Iran. The oligarchs, the Shah, and they toppled the regime and they set up this government that is just
the Islamic Republic. They were mad that wealth wasn't distributed the way it needed to be. And
so now they got nothing.
Yeah, I would probably venture to say that Iranians by far are worse off now than they were in 1979 and 80 when this all went down.
And this guy was reporting this morning that we need a regime change in Iran. And he's saying the Iranian people, he goes, please do not punish the Iranian people. They want to be in a friendly neighborhood with the rest of the world. He goes, it is the regime that wants this violence, the regime that hates the Jews, the regime that hates the West.
As you and I have pointed out multiple times, this isn't against the people of Iran.
No.
They've been demonstrating for the last few months in the streets and getting killed for it.
So I want to take you one layer back on that onion for folks like Mike Gomez and Peter McNally that no doubt are listening. The left is, all the way up to senators, people like Elizabeth Warren. The president has violated the Constitution and AOC. He needs to be impeached. And what these people are missing.
Succubus just needs to go.
Well, they're saying, hey, look, the president can't declare war without Congress. Okay, that's a fact. I can, just off the top of my head, Ronald Reagan did the exact same thing in the Middle East. John F. Kennedy had the Bay of Pigs, had the Cuban, now the Cuban Missile Crisis was supported by the entire administration, but the Bay of Pigs attack.
That was a CIA miss-op.
And then you go to by the way, this little thing we called the Vietnam War was never a declared war. We were never at war with Vietnam on paper.
How many bombs did Obama drop in the Middle East? Not in Iran, but
bunch.
We can't talk about that.
Right. But at the end of the day, what the president did was absolutely within his executive branch authority. And the follow-up will be as well. Now, if we want to put boots on the ground, troops in Iran, you want to declare war against Iran, the fact of the matter is they're not going to do anything. Some of these little sleeper cells that are over here in our country, you watch. They're going to be going, uh-oh, we're over here.
Just last February, U.S. forces conducted a series of strikes against Iranian-backed militant groups in Iraq and Syria in response to an attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. soldiers. That was February of 24.
That was a different president, and he doesn't even know it happened.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't even know that happened. Jill did that.
He has no clue.
And nobody was upset about that. So I just find myself going, well, the president acted presidential. And it went off with, I mean, I want you to think about B-2 bombers scrambled out of Missouri, refueling, 4 times going, 4 times coming back. I heard this morning can take up to an hour to refuel, depending on no radio communications.
They can't. They use lights. Well, doing it all. I mean, the stealth bombers are. I mean, when these things have been around for what, 30 years now, roughly,
Yeah.
and they're still cutting edge. They still can't be detected by radar. Heard an analyst today saying basically, if the Iranians were looking at radar, they couldn't distinguish between a flock of birds
That's right.
and the B-2 bombers.
It's just awesomeness. Now they did Europe, and they said, what did they see in Europe? Europe saw United States tanker planes flying. They had decoys in the air, tanker planes flying around. And sure enough, said, but it was pointed out this morning, a pundit that I heard said, we ask a lot of these men and women, ages roughly 28 to 36.
Yeah. Maybe the odd 40-year-old.
Yeah, he said the 40-year-old on the deck was the old man.
Yeah.
And by the way, there were United States submarines came up and launched a couple of missiles too. Very interesting. I do
want to pray and say a prayer real quick for our servicemen and women that have been deployed. I know somebody here whose 2 sons were called up and deployed to the Middle East. So know that our prayers are with you.
Absolutely. And I obviously the entire military is on
standby,
high
heightened
on
alert, because
standby.
Iran has said, wow, we're going to vow revenge.
But I mean, you can, this is not a made up scenario. When the 8 dudes pull up in front of the base in the Toyota Tundra, they're just going to go ahead and shoot them now. They used to have to indulge them, right? You didn't want to engage the radicals.
I think, well, they'll probably make even a wider perimeter around
Yeah,
the U.S.
they'll just
bases
start
now.
taking them out.
Yeah. But yeah,
But at some point,
actually, technically, they'll be in their Hiluxes.
after the 60 days, during the 2-week mulling period, at what point do you accept the president taking decisive action?
Well, you can't wait for day 13, right? Because
Yeah,
then you know
it's
you've got
coming.
1 day left and it's coming, and they can scramble and they can do whatever they need to do, and you give them 2 weeks to prepare, and who knows what they could, I mean, I don't know the logistics of this stuff.
This is one of those deals that will come out later that Trump had communications with them, and they said, we're not doing anything with you. We death to the West is going to be their response. It's already been the generals in Tehran have a free hand to do whatever they want against the U.S. Well, bring it on.
Yeah, what did
Bring
they
it
say they
on.
were going to do? We're gonna block the Strait of Hormuz. You already tried that
We'll
with your
just blow their
Houthis,
navy
and
up.
we started attacking you.
And it's so interesting because on the news,
And all the leftists are going, oh, well, the oil prices are going to go up 50%.
are you ready for $15 a gallon gas? You can thank Donald Trump for that. Well, are you ready for the fact that a nuclear bomb didn't go off in New York? You can thank Donald Trump for that too. Leftist pukes.
No, there's the thing. The leftists, 80% of this country, and it was like 76, 83%, like 76% of Democrats agreed, right? Iran can't have nukes, but they don't want to and didn't want to take the action necessary to prevent it from happening. Well, how do you do that?
They're just good people.
Yeah, the people of Iran are. They're being held hostage and captive by a bunch of crazies who use religion to get what they want. They're not Muslims. They've twisted the religion.
Speaking of folks using religion to get what they want, we'll talk about that in a minute. Right now, we're going to take a break. Palace
Segway
Bingo.
King is
I
back.
am the king of the Segway. Aren't you just waiting?
Hold on.
that?
Let Marvin
Edge
Mickers,
of your
Buddy
toilet.
Savino, Lisa Poole on the podium this morning. Let's see if there's any comments on what's happened. 'Cause
All it
we've
says
kind
is
of
good
blown
morning.
through
They're
this.
literally just waiting on the edge of their toilet. for
Bobby
me to
Leister,
finish
Mark
what I'm gonna
Zapata,
say.
Jordan Glass, Monty Howard, Will Vincent,
Hi,
Judge Rosie,
Judge.
good morning, David Glass, Rena
Hi,
Sharon,
Rena.
Stephanie Conti, Daniel Wade White, Junior Samples, P. Strauss, good morning, Funky Trey Molina,
I still got to talk to Rena. She didn't call me back.
Scott Tomko, Greg Garcia, Heather Stewart,
Hi,
Brad
Heather.
Mitchell. I had dinner with the Stewarts on Friday
Hi,
night.
Steph. Yeah, you told me that you ruined their dinner.
I did. Stephanie Conti crashed their party of 6.
Yeah.
Mark
Mark
Kurtz.
Kurtz is back from vacation.
Scott Tomko says he uses a molasses barrel lid about 2 inches deep with water for the chickens. Just lays it down. The chickens love it. There you go.
Thank you, Scott.
Jarrett McCrugan. Stephanie Conti says on Newsmax this morning, Obama dropped over 26,000 bombs in the Middle East with drones,
Nice.
but they weren't in Iran. Monty Howard, Ricky King were huge in Illinois this morning. Linda Christ, Katina Arterberry.
But they weren't in Iran because people were scared of Iran. And,
Yeah.
and Trump's like, I got maybe 5 years to live and 3 more in office. Let's party.
Jenna Banda, Torrin Bales. Good morning, Marina. We're huge in
Hi, Marina.
Vancouver this morning. Scott Tomko says, just think about how many things Trump is going right on right now. Now, think of Kamala was trying to juggle the same issues.
Oh,
Like,
she
I'm
would be
glad
just
Trump was
cackling.
there.
Her hair would be falling out and she'd be white.
Linda Chris says, proud to be an American. She feels very patriotic right now as Trump stopped those murdering crazy people. Torrin Bale says the left is outraged because Trump had the courage to do something that needed to be done and it was
And
successful.
thank you, TB. Everybody agreed that it needed to be done. I mean, Obama talked about it. Obama, we've got the video. Trust me. Obama just goes, it is unacceptable. Iran can't, they're working towards it. They can't have this weapon. That was in his term. That was before Joe slept for 4 years.
There you go. Monty Howard with the fact check. Vietnam, the war was conducted under the Gulf of Tonkin resolution in 1964. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
State Representative AJ Louderback checking in.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that it is our most advanced weapons platform, and they were concerned that if folks were to miss a refueling, they would still have fuel to get down and land. They take off almost empty to get all that weight up into the atmosphere. And then once the plane heats up and the wings all seal and all that, then they pump it full
Well,
of
what?
fuel.
There's only 2 other bombers that we have that can carry that
The
payload.
B-1 and
the
the B-52.
Yeah, and
Both are susceptible to being seen.
yeah, and I would guess maybe both probably don't have the ability to launch them with the precision that the B-2 does. Torrin Bale says he had an Iranian Uber driver yesterday that thanked President Trump for his actions.
I love that. Hillary, Michelle Wilson-Hawkins points out that Hillary is also on video saying the same thing about Iran. Of course, Hillary's on video saying that Hillary and Bill are on video saying that marriage is only between a man and a woman. There shouldn't be any gay marriage. But that was a different political time, right? So their flag blows in a different direction. Donald Trump not wavering. on what-
Multiple women was okay in that relationship.
Absolutely. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends of this Thursday night. You've been waiting for it. You want us on that board. You need us on that board. You be at Palace Bingo Thursday night. The first ball pops at 7:30. If you're not there, you're in the wrong place. Brother Gary will be there.
When they call B-2, we should all cheer for the bombers.
Amen. I'm going to tell them, go, yeah. Okay, I'll do it. And then that lady will go, that's right.
Under the B-2, stealth.
Hold it down, Carter. What does it even mean? Communist people. USA Concrete Coatings. Charlie Garcia saw him advertising this weekend. They have USA Foundation Repair as well. If you're starting to see doors that won't close and cracks in your sheetrock, reach out to 578 Home.
That's probably because we got 6 inches of rain. Everything has settled perfectly under the dry conditions. that we've
Right
had.
now, it's all swollen back up.
It's all swollen.
Get over there. Veracruz Restaurant today. Get in a full accoutrement,
Yes.
accompaniment of wonderful Mexican fare, the best guac, the best queso, the best hot sauce. Get in there. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen is your go-to, Toto. Allen's all over. I was in Corpus over the weekend coming back and was over by Sinton. Saw an Allen's flatbed. He was just staged,
Sitting there.
yeah, right there by a donut shop, just waiting for an opportunity to be of service. The dollar floor
That
store.
didn't work so well for the Bengals when they tried all the tow truck drivers at the donut shop. It didn't quite flow.
Right? Dollar floor store, tile, laminates, hardwoods, carpet. Get in.
Best prices anywhere. The Dollar Floor Store, the Floor Trader. You're supporting Texas-grown, Texas-owned business. They have stores. The mothership for the Dollar Floor Store is in Bryan College Station, but they've got 2 others. One of them, lucky enough, here in Victoria. Stop on by on Navarro for all your flooring needs. Phenomenal prices, great people.
Yep. You want to be sure and tune in tomorrow. Just got a note from our state representative, the Honorable AJ Louderback, House District 30 state rep, said he's going to come in tomorrow.
We've got guests this week, and then I think Pat Matula is going to come by later this week, right?
Thursday.
Thursday.
I think Pat Matula wants to come by and catch
Palace
up.
Bingo Thursday. Maybe we
And,
can get this to come by Palace Bingo.
Bring his guitar. That
would be great if he played during the intermission.
That would really
That'd be awesome.
That would
I
really-
might come for that.
That would really piss people off. If he's over there singing Amarillo by morning, B7, right? Just between the balls, he could sing a little.
Probably make it more fun.
So speaking of people using religion to accomplish their agendas, how do you feel, folks? How do you feel about the governor yesterday on a Sunday working on the Sabbath?
If only our legislature would have worked this hard on the weekends
Yeah.
during the session.
The governor signing into law that there will be at least a 16 by 20 display of the 10 commandments in every public school.
Classroom.
Every classroom.
Not
Oh,
school.
Every
Classroom.
classroom. So not at the entrance next to the founder's picture.
Schools don't have to buy them. They can make them of their
Or they
own
can be
accord.
donated.
They can be donated. And actually, under the law, schools cannot refuse a donated version of the 10 Commandments that meets.
So I could have
bill.
one and it could be like a hologram. And like, if you turn it just right, you get like a picture of Commander Cody. But if you're looking at it from the side, it looks
Would
like
that make him Commandment Cody?
Commandment Cody. I like it. But what do you
Biblical.
make of that? 16 by 20 is not very big. It shouldn't offend many people, but it wasn't done with a whole lot of acquiescence to appease certain groups.
It must be a durable poster or framed copy of the 10 Commandments
That
in a
means laminated,
conspicuous place in each classroom.
visible, by the door.
The text must be large enough to be read by someone with average vision from anywhere in the classroom. Here's the problem with this. You're going to get some zealot who's going to start going into classrooms and doing the tests. Well, I got average vision and I can't see it from here.
So I'll give you my take on this. I don't look at this as such a huge win.
ACLU has already filed a lawsuit, by the way, and I think
nobody did.
Louisiana's was just
And
struck down. over the weekend.
ACLU has no authority and the precedent's been set. So this is not going anywhere. They're not going to be able to ban it in Texas. It's going to happen.
I don't know. They banned it in Kentucky a few years ago by the Supreme Court, and
Well,
that's what
They
we
couldn't
based our
find
law
a
on.
full set
Apparently,
of teeth for a jury over there. But at the end of the day, if it's been struck down in Louisiana, there's no way that Texas is going to appear less religious than Louisiana.
the text of the poster or framed copy of the 10 Commandments described by subsection A must read as follows. This is subsection C of the act.
Are you going to read
I
all
will.
10 commandments?
Sure. The 10 Commandments. I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make to thyself any graven images. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his cattle, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. There you go. That's all of them.
So, you good now?
I'm good. And then
I find it interesting.
shrimp and potatoes.
I find it interesting that
And
the
that's about it.
verbiage. Are you done now?
Yes.
I find it interesting that the verbiage they're using is from the King James version of the Bible. I just find it doesn't read well for little children, for example. It doesn't. You put that into an elementary school, and there's not a kid in the country that can go, thou shalt, thy. They don't get that. I mean, they could have at least used the New American Standard Version or the NIV. At any rate, I'm fine. I mean, I'm a Christian. I'm excited if we can actually turn our schools back to God. But just in the same way that you cannot legislate morality, it is very difficult to put that in there, plain separation of church and state, which I understand church and state separation has nothing to do with keeping God out of school. I get that.
Not establishing a religion.
Right.
But the left will argue that we are.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. The endless, mindless drivel of the left is being invited here, encouraged here. It's like Dan Patrick got into Abbott's ear and said, let's mess with them. And he did. That's what happened. Let's mess with the left. And I don't understand what you're going to do. Cody, with a background in religion as well, said, look, whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, the 10 Commandments are all relevant to you because they were given to Moses and they go straight through Abraham. I mean, it's Old Testament stuff.
Well, and even pagan societies live by some version of, maybe not all 10, but probably 7 of the 10.
Right. So where I'm trying to go with this is what happens when the Hindus want to bring up, well, I want these 10 tenets in here. What happens when the next group, the next fringe group? Now, if they're Asian, it doesn't matter because as you've learned here, nobody cares about the Asians.
Certainly not Harvard.
No. So what do you do when another group says, and by the way, pick a group, let's say it's the Hindus. You're extreme leftist radical idiots will be screaming. They will be on, I mean, they're right now, the left is trying to get their "We Stand with Iran" t-shirts made.
There was reportedly there were protests in New York yesterday already because of what we did in Iran.
Fools.
I mean, what about the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster? What do they want to put something
when they
up?
want to put something in the school, how do you say, well, no, because it's a public school. I mean, I pay taxes. Well, why can't I have my religious tenets on the wall? Well, you're not the majority. Well, isn't that why we keep them separate? So I find it's always good, and this is something the left can't ever grasp. It's always good when it was your side that's winning, right? Let's impeach everybody. Let's sanction everybody, right? And then let's pardon everybody. But then when that comes around with the next cycle, then they're all bent out of shape about it. So I'm just telling you, as a Christian who says that my kids can pray anytime they want in school, I don't need a set aside moment of silence. That's symbolic. It's cool. I'm for it, but I don't need a 3 times a day, get out your prayer mat.
Well, it's
face east.
I mean, it's timely in a way. Pastor Hurt yesterday talking about closing the door and praying in private. Well, have to make a spectacle of it.
That's how we're called to do. The Pharisees were the ones that puffed out their chest and would pray for extended periods of time so they could quote scripture. Jesus didn't think much of the Pharisees. I don't know. It's just so fitting that it's the King James version where you're not even hooked on phonics trying to read that. Thou shalt.
Well, maybe they'll learn
die.
some English as
Right.
thy is and thous. Maybe they should have given them the Gideon version because the Gideons used to go into schools and give them to all the 5th graders. Remember that?
Is it not?
You had to have really good eyesight back then because the Bibles were only about 12 inches tall.
Smaller than your iPhone.
Is it not ironic that this country was founded in part on freedom of religion, getting away from the English church,
Protestants,
And now,
Anglican Church.
we have the King James Version being forced upon our schools. Very interesting to me. I mean, you at the surface, at the knee jerk, you go, that's great, man. But this is a step in the right direction. We're putting Christianity back into our schools. That's awesome. Although at the time it was actually Judaism, right? It wasn't Christianity at all. In fact, the 10 Commandments are the impetus for Jesus Christ. The fact that you can't live under the law.
And morality. That's what people forget. Our morals and values are derived from the 10 Commandments.
And Jonathan Williams is right. The Gideon version was King James.
Okay.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting that
Thank you for
they're
clearing that up.
defining the law that no humor, thank God, Christ took on for us. Oh, here's something we haven't talked about here.
That's odd.
Blake Farenthold passed.
Oh, yes.
Tragic time.
Friday, heard about this.
Very bad time. Magic 95.9. If you're listening, there is no better time ever for Wade and Carter to be promoted in the Corpus market. I reached out to Debbie Farenthold over the weekend, friend of the program. Blake Farenthold was a friend of this program.
We simulcast on Magic, and I guess on Facebook at the time, maybe not YouTube, but we could have been. I don't remember.
But he's got an audience.
We were on their show and they were on our show at the same time. It was actually a lot of fun.
He's got an audience that needs Wade and Carter right now in a 250,000 person metropolitan area.
Prayers to Debbie and the girls. But yeah, we enjoyed it regardless of how you feel about Blake as your state rep or as your congressman. I always enjoyed Blake, and I thought we had a very good relationship.
You know, think about the power of radio. Blake Farenthold unseated Solomon Ortiz, who was a Hispanic Democrat in Corpus. Became the first Republican, I think, maybe ever to be elected to Congress down there.
Probably pretty close.
And of course, went through some stuff, and which, by the way, ultimately led to
Michael
the
Cloud
embarking of
yep.
Michael Cloud, and Michael's doing.
It's been like 10 years already. Hard to believe.
Yeah, Michael's doing a fantastic job. Fantastic. Has it been 10? I mean, we were on the air when Michael took office.
Maybe not quite 10, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Somebody will fact check us and know.
Oh, yeah. Somebody will
He's
just
sitting in the
know.
corner playing with tape over there. He should be able to fact check.
Mark
I don't know.
Longoria will send us a note, Chief of Staff. Spoke with him over the weekend.
Yeah.
I actually told him about Mr. Farenthold.
6 bunker busters were used on the Fordow establishment in Iran, just so you know, as we hit 3 there.
The triple meat meal deal at Dairy Queen will now be called the Bunker Buster. Your 3,000-pound life. The Bunker Buster.
There you go. According to this, the Trump administration tried a back channel meeting with Iran in Istanbul before.
Brokered by Turkey's president as a last-ditch effort. Listen to this. But Tehran refused direct talks unless Israel halted its attacks. This is a key example of a regime in Iran that does not represent the majority of the people,
Does not care about its people.
thinking it has the cards. You don't have the cards. Trump said, look, I'm thinking of sparing you. Well, we won't talk to you unless you do X, Y, and Z. Trump said, bye. You don't have the leverage. So I'm going to eliminate the sites, and I'll come back to you. Do you want to talk again? We'll help you rebuild it. We haven't even torn up your cities yet. We'll get the Jews off your back. We're going to have a little regime change. If you care about the people, if you don't, well, we'll bomb you some more. We don't care. And at some point, the regime will change at the hands of the people.
Well, don't forget, they've been trying that. but they haven't been able to accomplish it because they killed them.
Yeah.
When they take to the streets.
What do we got? We have any factoids about that? It says 5 things to know about the U.S. attack. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
We've talked about the attack.
Yeah, I think so for the most part.
You can bet now Congress will be all bunched up trying to find a way to attack the president.
Oh, this is
over
interesting.
They're just wrong.
The uranium enrichment facility at Fordow was one that Israel had not been able to get to because it's 300 feet underground in a mountainous area, which tells me there's nobody really there.
Right. I agree with the president. There's not another military on the planet.
Nope,
that
not
could
at
have
all.
done this. Love it.
Well, and there's not another one that would have done it because they just don't do that anymore.
No, they protest. They walk in the streets and whine.
Let's not forget the other two players in this that have allowed this to happen, because despite all the sanctions that we had placed on Iran over the last 40 years, China and Russia have cozied up and are in bed with Iran. If they don't support them financially, Iran is basically North Korea.
Yeah.
A bunch of missiles that would have fizzled into the desert.
Looks like a fireworks show. Did you
And
see
the
what-
Clinton administration and the Obama administration, they've all enabled Russia and China to fuel the economy of Iran and get them on the verge of nuclear weapons that just last week, Iran was saying, well, you never know. We might send one to New York City if we ever get one.
Very interesting that Vladimir Putin regurgitated. He didn't regurgitate.
No.
He just threw out there that this was an unprovoked act of aggression by the United States, mocking the fact that the U.S. has called his attack on Ukraine unprovoked. The difference being Ukraine wasn't trying to build a nuclear weapon and had not threatened. They didn't scream death to America in Ukraine or death to Russia. They didn't scream death to Russia in Ukraine. So
Be small. How do we end this worthless protest crap? Seriously. I don't know. I mean, you can't go in and, I mean, they have the right to do
it's
it.
part of who we are. I don't think you've got the right also to peaceably assemble maybe each city, like I'm hearing now with some sense that this administration is saying to places like Los Angeles, don't call us for federal funds to rebuild your sanctuary city in your sanctuary state after your peaceful protest, mostly peaceful protests.
You know what's interesting is Representative Anna Paulina Luna has said that the No Kings protests are being funded by the Chinese Progressive Association. This is a group tied to Communist China. They are pro-Maoist. There you go. So she's obviously got some intel that we don't have. But there you go. That's why these protests can spring up as quickly as they can. And that's why they all seem to look the same. Have you noticed that lately?
Oh, yeah.
Bullhorns, all the printed posters, and they can activate quickly.
We need our local leftists to step up their game. When I drove by, there were single line like Sharpie made on white poster board. I mean, they weren't creative. There were no 4-color photos. There was no bullhorn. They did have an easy up. I mean, they need to step up and be straight varsity because they've been very, very JV. It's hard to get behind. I want to go because, I'm a protester at heart. I want to go, but they're not giving me anything
Any reason?
tangible.
No.
It's just a bunch of old hippies.
Bonnie Howard says, quit reporting it. But we also know that's not going to happen. You know why it's not going to happen? Because these protests have become almost like NASCAR races to those that watch them unfold on CNN.
Yeah,
and
you
Fox.
watch to see what
You watch to see
did
if-
you see they shot him with
Yeah.
a rubber bullet.
You watched, or that motorist just mowed down 10 of them who were trying to block his car and he couldn't
Right.
get to work. This is what nobody's watching them just stand there and go, down with Trump, down with Trump. They're watching to see what will happen, because they want to then be the first. And they're all sitting there with their cell phones on the TV,
Oh, yeah, just
or they're
waiting.
using their video recorders built in to record it all,
100%.
because then they want to be the first ones to post it on social media.
And it's always out of context. You never saw what happened before the officer.
No.
Did you see the one over the weekend? There was a guy in Belgium and he was fit. Isn't Belgium like Germanic? Aren't they just kind of white people?
Yes.
Okay, well, this guy looked a little bit Arab. He was very dark featured and dark.
It is
Handsome
summer
dude, though.
over there too.
But he looked like G.I. Joe. I mean, he was a big dude, but he had a machete and he was threatening a guy, and the guy with the camera, and he was coming at him, and he would like hit the. And I just put on. It was like a 2.5 minutes of blustering. I said, this video would be a lot shorter in South Texas. I go, because if you come at me with a machete as a 62-year-old grandfather, I have immediate and imminent fear of my life, and you're catching a 9mm slug.
Well, because he could be between you and the bathroom,
Right. And yes,
and your bladder isn't what it used to be.
I wear Kevlar. Depends. Yes, I would bust a cap in that dude.
Andrew Alvarez says, if the representatives, I guess he's thinking or referring to Representative Luna, if her intel is correct, I'm thinking we should do a travel ban from China as well. We should designate the CCP as a terrorist group. That'll never happen because they're a political party that governs a country. We'll never see that happen. But yes, we should. It makes maybe Iran.
So did Tammy say something that made sense? China or anyone funding No Kings protest is not intel. It's gross propaganda.
I don't know what she means by that. I don't know if she means that Luna's lying.
Intel, or
Yeah.
is she saying that if you're funding No Kings protest, it's just gross propaganda? I give that statement a C.
Could go either way.
It could go either way. No Kings protest. They're already gearing up for the next one's called, I don't know. But see, they won't say no Queens because they're
No
gonna have a
wars.
drag show.
No, it'll be no wars. It'll be the no wars protest.
I think
Trump, that was the thing on yesterday in New York. Trump said he wasn't going to give us any wars. Well, he hasn't. It's been one strike, no retaliations other than, well, we avow the heavy hand of all we have to come after you. That's all basically Iran has said, right?
I really, really don't think that Iran is going to declare war on the United States of America.
Let them.
Right. It'll be over in a week and a half.
What are they going to do? I believe we've put our military bases in the region on heightened alert. I think New York City, Washington, D.C., California have basically issued elevated threats against public places,
Yeah. Well,
tourist destinations.
I have never seen anyone take to the social media airwaves like Gavin Newsom. It just, other governors of other states pointing out that, gee, Gavin, you really dropped the ball here. And, your sanctuary program's not working out. And then Gavin Newsom takes the time to respond. And he says, oh, the murder rate of your state is literally twice that of California. I mean, that kind of stuff. I'm like, bro, don't you have something better to do? I don't get it. Yeah, the LGBTQ plus, they're all bunched up right now because all this war and stuff is ruining their month. By the way, I've decided I no longer this shirt is an extra large. I find that demeaning. I don't want to be XL. I want to be LG plus. I'm just large plus because then, right?
Then you could be large. You could be extra large.
I'm large plus, but I'm not extra large. What is that extra large?
Can I be large plus plus?
I was going to say, because I just don't think that doesn't have any positive connotations. He's large. I mean, when you were a kid and you maybe didn't have one, I don't know what they called it in China,
It's all the same outside
in the
of America.
Soviet Union.
in Canada. But we had the kids that were a little chunkier. They never said fat kid pants. They were called Huskies.
Huskies.
Kids wore the Huskies. They don't make those anymore.
We didn't
'cause
have
it
fat kids in Canada because we were healthy. We walked everywhere.
could stigmatize a child.
James Kerr said large-ish. Andrew Albert says, let's organize a MAGA rally next month for MAGA month. Here's the problem with that, Andrew.
Is it MAGA month? I'm
Yeah,
not
July.
sure I'm a MAGA.
But I don't want to rally. I've
I
got
don't-
better
it's too
things
hot.
to do.
It's too hot.
I mean, what are we going to do? Celebrate our wins? I mean, I don't need to throw it in everybody's face. We can see it. What's going on?
Get together outside in July. That sounds.
I mean, let's.
terrible.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we call that July 4th. around
Speaking
here.
of shifting gears and speaking of throwing your wins in everybody's face, no better collegiate baseball program over the last 30 years than LSU. LSU wins their eighth national championship since like 1990. It's a phenomenal run.
They beat the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina.
Who have also won one in the past. The LSU folks, really, I mean, as a proud Texas grad, the LSU folks have really supplanted UT as the darlings of Omaha
5-3, the final yesterday. So they sweep.
after beating Coastal 1-0 on
that was
Saturday.
that was a really
Really
good game
good
on Saturday.
baseball.
Yesterday's game was really never in doubt.
No,
A little different game, a little different feel from the get-go. LSU got out to an early lead and never looked back. But that Saturday game was full of great defensive plays, good pitching. That was a great baseball game.
did
on
you
Saturday.
watch part of that game?
I watched
Did you
most
happen
of
to-
Saturday night's game. That
In
was a
the
good game.
Coastal game, you saw that third baseman from LSU range to his left and then set his hips and made a great throw.
LSU made a couple of nice plays on force outs at third
Yeah.
to keep Coastal Carolina from tying it up or scoring, or even going ahead. Yeah, first inning ejections yesterday. I didn't quite get all this, but the umpires, in my mind, probably got a little bit ejection happy. And
They can't help themselves. They want to inject themselves into the games, and it's a little bit obnoxious.
but yeah, I saw replays of it. I didn't catch the first inning. I was actually flipping between that and the Astros.
But you
So-
have, I think, is it USC that has, or Arizona State? And USC has like a whole bunch of national championships. LSU's second at 8. Texas is third with 6. But our last one came in 2005, I think, maybe 2011, 2005, I think. And at the end of the day, what LSU has built over there in the swamp is great.
No, I mean, think about it. That's the, they won the NCAA and the NAIA
No, yeah, they're
championships in the LSU system.
very, very good. Very, very good. The Astros update brought to you by the great folks at First State Bank of Louise. Let's take a second break real quick and welcome in White Trash Services. It's hot. White Trash Services leaving early in the mornings now to come and serve you.
You know, they ask that you have your trash cans up by 5:30 in the morning. So unless you're an early riser like Brent or I
Put them out
or
early.
Marina,
Put them out the night
get them
before.
out the night before.
Yep.
But and also, if you're a new customer, you'll be entered into a drawing to win 11 months of free trash collection. So
Yep.
that's great as they celebrate their 11th anniversary. Congratulations to them. The chopping block ribeyes $13.99 a pound.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They were
dropped
open
them-
yesterday, so keep an eye on that. I didn't get advance notice of this till yesterday when I was looking to see that they were open. But
Well, you don't walk
we didn't
into
know
the
this on
chopping
Friday.
block. You don't walk into the chopping block and find yellow tags on the meat. and,
No.
So when you walk into the chopping block, if they're open on a Sunday, it's because they've got meat to sell.
Yeah.
So get in there and get it while it's fresh. They do a fantastic job, and they marinate things for you. Don't forget Wacky Wing Wednesday. Parvita Wellness. Get in and get healthy as well. Give them your macros. Tell them what your doctor said about your cholesterol, your gluten. Let them help you.
If you've had gastric bypass surgery, they can help you with diets and meals that will help that
They
process
can help
move
you
along.
a bunch. Chestnut Furniture, Chestnut and Love, make your house a home. Get in today for Stearns and
Yeah.
Foster, Sealy Posturepedic,
Best
Tempur-Pedic
furniture.
Bedding, Best Furniture, and all the
Accoutrement.
you will love it. The Emmanuel Macron update. Adsanover and adsanover.com. Today's a great day to buy a new Chevrolet. Get by and see the tremendous deals they're making on Chevy pickups. Other dealerships, they'll take like a Chevy Corvette and the sticker says 137 grand and they mark it up to 155. Adsanover marks it down to 126 and says, hey, we're stacking them deep and selling them cheap.
Yep,
Get
we
in
won't-
here
we
and buy
don't-
the
We're
car.
not. They're not in the car collection business.
Absolutely. And then Went Services. Went Services for all your electrical needs.
Period.
Period.
Full stop.
Absolutely. If you have the need, if you have realized the need for a backup generator, Went is there for you with turnkey service. So reach out to them. Now, switch this back to the camera. What are you looking
I'm
at?
just trying to close some windows as I bring up some stuff
For the Astros?
Astros because I don't want for some reason when I do this, it tends to.
Astros have
Our
now
computer.
won 9 straight series. Okay, they've won 9 straight series.
But I think this is the first extended road trip they've actually walked away from with a winning record.
4-7
correct?
on this road trip. Ryan Gusto pitched really well yesterday for 6 innings. I mean, for
Some
a
good innings and
rookie,
some bad innings,
Yeah,
but yeah,
gave up 6 hits and 5 earned runs, but the Astros bats were on display. Mauricio Dubon, now a power hitter, in addition to playing every position except catcher.
yeah, homered twice yesterday.
Yeah.
8-7 Astros win. They have today off, travel day. They begin a homestand against the Phillies with a 5-game lead. over
Josh
the Seattle
Hader comes
Mariners.
in. I think there's a dangerous trend that could haunt us late in the year. So typically when Josh Hader enters the game, it's the top or the bottom of the 9th. There's usually not, he doesn't inherit runners, is what I'm saying. Astros have a 2-run lead yesterday, and Hader comes in, and I'm in my heart, I'm like, it's automatic. I mean, he doesn't give up 2 runs, but he too often gives up 1 run. If you have a 1-run game, if it's 3-2, you might be looking at extra innings because Josh Hader will give up. He threw that slider in there, and this guy turned on it and hit it 900 feet. I'm just like, are you kidding me? It was never in doubt off the bat.
It's an estimate, by the way.
Yeah, it's an estimate. No, but I don't know what it was in the
Oh,
left, but it greatly flew the wall. Brian Abreu pitched really well.
He did pitch well. 3 strikeouts and 1 1/3. Gusto, 7 strikeouts, no walks.
Yeah, he was
6
all
hits,
around the
5
plate,
runs. He
but they
was.
were also hitting what he offered.
Yeah, it was interesting though to watch because he sailed through the first 3 innings and then he gave up 2 in the 4th, then had a good 6th inning and gave up a run. I think in the
He only pitched 6.
6th. So yeah, then
But
he.
look,
But
Jeremy Pena goes 2 for 5, scores 2 runs, has a home run. He's batting .326.
yeah,
Jeremy Pena settled in and has become the player we had hoped he would be. Jake Myers
10-game hitting streak.
goes 2 for 4 as an RBI and scores a run. He's batting .310.
Altuve had a walk, I think, in every single game in that series. So he was getting on base. He went 1 for 4.
He also beat out 2 infield hits. The second one was overturned on appeal correctly. He was not safe, but Jose topped a ball and beat it out at first.
Cam Smith
Great player.
hitting in the number 4 spot yesterday, the first time in his major league career. His major league career only began April 1st.
He goes 1 for 4, scores a run. He's batting .265. Cam Smith, I think, has made me not so worried about Kyle Tucker.
No, I like what he's bringing.
I'm not looking to go. If you gave me $5 million, well, 5 won't do it. So
No.
forget it. We're not going to try to. We're not going to try to bring Kyle Tucker back.
Think about this. The Astros are doing all of this with a depleted pitching staff and no Yordan Alvarez.
Right. And when Jordan comes back, things will be so much
They're
better.
45-33. You and I did not think they would
No
be 12
chance.
games over
No,
500.
no
I
chance.
was hoping if they would eke out maybe 90 wins.
They're really, really good. By the way, I'll address that because it makes me smile to do so. Tammy Keeling pointing out that how did that regime change work out for the U.S. and Iraq, but the weapons of mass destruction? We were concerned. I wasn't on the air at the time, but we were concerned at the time as a group of people. Everybody looks back now and says, yeah, we should have never done it.
We lied.
I always thought that George W. Bush was trying to finish his daddy's war.
That was my feeling from the get-go.
But Saddam wasn't a good guy. He's not here anymore.
We really haven't had any issues.
We haven't had any trouble with
I don't
Iraq,
think.
have we? That
Not
regime change seems to have worked out okay
Yeah.
for me. Yeah,
At
no
least
problem
right
with that.
now. But I
Do not equate though Iran and Iraq Iran is a much bigger nuisance, much bigger animal.
Absolutely.
But I find it interesting that the Shah's son, opportunistic as he is out in public now saying, hey, we need a regime change. And
Well, he's been out in public for a long time doing this. It's just now he's getting some airtime because of what's going on in Iran.
Pete Strauss, I don't know what Fleetwood did. I thought Tommy was in complete
Yeah, I didn't watch.
control.
What was the Travelers? I didn't watch the end of the Travelers. With the College Baseball World Series wrapping up and the Astros playing, I just didn't get a chance to watch the golf yesterday.
Yeah, Christian Javier, Jonathan Williams points out, Christian Javier already throwing 95 out of the bullpen. That's good.
That is good.
That is good.
Speaking of the
Astros
bullpen.
gonna be good. Yeah, it's top of the hour, folks. We love you guys. Can't win the week if you don't win Monday. Get into Veracruz, Paravita. Get into the chopping block. Cook it yourself. It's cheaper. We love you, folks. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
I've been locked up for driving.